it feels like, you talk about where all the stud defensive linemen in the SEC, like, are we just at an era where they're all of a sudden like, hey, you see them and then they're gone just like that? Kind of feels like the same thing is happening with running back. The last 2 years,
Whoa.
there's some good running backs coming back in the SEC, and I don't want to diminish that. Like Moss coming off the ACL, Baugh is going to be good. Hardy, you just talked about that Mizzou offensive line. Frazier at Georgia, Durham at LSU, like the Texas duo, if Baxter can come back fully healthy. Good backs, superstar backs, they're not there.
Oh,
Is that a
I'll
fair
give you one
assessment?
better, and you're great with numbers, so you might actually know this. How many 1,000-yard rushers do you think we had last year?
Is there two?
3.
Golly.
Dylan Sampson, Jarquez Hunter, and Quintravian Wisner.
Dylan Sampson had the rushing title locked up like week 8.
And it feels like we usually have like 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, I do know you can talk about the devaluation of the position. You can talk about, which, by the way, the only crazier number than that was, do you know how many 1,000-yard receivers we had last year?
Because Trey Harris came up just short, didn't he?
Not just short, but he was out a couple of games, so he didn't get there.
Right. He didn't end up getting there. Keandre Lambert-Smith did not end up getting there. There was one, right?
Yeah. If you get it, I'll be impressed.
Golly.
I wouldn't have gotten it before we did this on the air.
It was Andrew Armstrong.
It was.
At Arkansas, yeah.
But like even the top 5, like Kevin Coleman's in there. Jordan Watkins is in there. And you think about the guys that we had coming back, like that we were going nuts about, Kyron Lacey, Luther Burden. Like we thought, you mentioned him, Trey Hill. I mean, we thought all those guys were going to be, going for 1,500. And that was almost weirder than the rushing thing. I think a couple of things are happening. Number one, very few teams are leaning on a guy. So it makes it hard for you to be dominant. It's hard for you to appear to be what Ashton Genty was for Boise last year because you're not getting those kind of carries. A couple of things are in play there. One, and I talked to Sark about this before the season. He's like, we're playing more freshmen and more guys earlier than ever before. Like, we've got to get them in. Number one, we're going to have injuries. We need more guys ready. 2, the season's going to be longer. He's like, I don't mind saying it. We're planning for a playoff run, and we got to have bodies that are capable. So I think that's happening a little bit more. And then in a little bit of a similar way that it hurts offensive line play, I think running backs need some continuity. Like, I think you need to know your guys and know your quarterback and know your offensive linemen and know how things open up. Like, a perfect example of this is Tank Bigsby when Harsin brought that offense in and they were running outside zone. Tank Bigsby he's perfect for the stretch play. Like, put one foot in the ground, go north and south. But what he didn't understand was you cannot take ball and sprint to line of scrimmage in the stretch play work, because very rarely are you going to beat everybody to the edge and then go north and south and it works. You got to allow for some flow, some overflow. Some guys get caught up, and that's where things open up. But he would just go, which you love that about the kid because he just wants to run people over. But like, that's not how the play works. I think the movement in college football hurts that position a little bit too, because we hear coaches say this all the time. If you're not going to pick up guys in pass pro, you're not playing. You're going to get your quarterback killed. You can't be that kind of liability. So we'll take, 0.8 less seconds on our 40, or maybe 10 pounds lighter if a guy's at least getting in front of that linebacker to not have him knock our quarterback's helmet off. So all the movement, I think, hurts a little bit of the continuity. And then I think you have multiple guys carrying the ball. Mobile quarterbacks are hurting too, because, what are they doing? They're pulling the ball out of the belly. There's not a bunch of McElroys out there that want to hand the football off right now. Like, whether it's an RPO, like, go listen to Saban when he was talking about Tua. And like, when he really got talking about him, he's like, you think that kid's going to hand the ball off when he can potentially pull it and throw it to Devontae Smith or Henry Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy? Like, he ain't giving them the ball. So I think all that goes into play, and there's a little more of this now happening also. And you'll probably know the 2 or 3 places I'm talking about, and this is unfortunate. But there's placating now, because you got to keep guys on your roster. And what's more important, this is weird to say because, when you and I were growing up, this was not a thing. What's more important now, a big boy receiver or a big boy running back?
Big boy receiver. Easily.
And he ain't staying if he ain't getting the ball. So you can go find another running back. Everybody's brain says, we can get another running back. We can get another running back. Now, are you getting Ashton Genty? No. Are you getting Dylan Sampson? Probably not. But you get a receiver, you better find a way to get him the ball a couple times a game. And that's happening. I promise you. I've talked to coaches about it. They're like, we don't really care the score is. Like, that guy's getting targets because we just don't want him to leave or think about leaving. So I think that's another thing that takes a little bit away from the running backs.
It's a question that has so many different answers to it. And I'm even looking at the way it played out the first year of the playoff. And you look at, Dylan Sampson and Ashton Genty and Cam Scadaboo, these guys that were workhorse backs. And then look what they were in the playoff. They were looking like they were running on fumes. And some guys obviously worked through that better than not, but everybody's going to look at Ohio State. It's a copycat league. The Judkins experience that he signed up for with Travion Henderson in the backfield, and like knowing Penn State had this, versatile backfield as well. And knowing that Texas had this versatile backfield, even though they lean more on Wisner down the stretch. But yeah, it does feel like we're entering an era where that's going to be emphasized more and more. Do you just want to get to the playoff? Because if so, you're going to ride that back. But if you're talking about like truly winning a national championship, you're probably taking a different approach. And maybe that could definitely be factoring into this.
Well, and if you go watch my podcast, it was kind of eye-opening watching the national championship game and then going back and really dissecting the national championship game, because their run game is why they won that game. Now, what happened was two things. One, it forced the defense to be something different, and it forced them to be what Ohio State wanted him to be. And then everything that they built around it ended up also working and benefiting them and helping them win that game. And it was really based off like one or two plays. And that's what I kind of highlighted and showed. So it at the end of the day, Connor, I think it goes back to, if you get to this playoff and you're one dimensional, no, just no. I don't care if it's Adrian Peterson, if it's Cam Newton, you're not, one guy's not winning this playoff. There's gonna be too many damn good teams in front of you. It's kind of like this Final Four right now. Like, whoever wins this Final Four, is going to be maybe the most tested national champion we've ever had. Like I said, with Houston, they could get the highest seed possible in every round. First team to ever do it. So I just don't think you're going to be a one-dimensional football team, running the ball, throwing the ball, leaning on one receiver, leaning on one running back. If you got an edge guy that's got 20 sacks, that's not going to be enough to just go win this playoff, because you're going to have a team that can run the other way, or that has a good tackle and a good tight end that can neutralize. You don't have to, everybody always says remove these things, take him out. All you need to do is neutralize dominance and don't let it overwhelm you. If you can do that, then other things can happen and get going. So I still think balance is key. And the weirdest part about Ohio State, I don't know what this says about the playoff, where we're going, where we are. And I've had, thankfully, a couple of Ohio State fans that have some sense about them have agreed with this. You go back and watch that team at almost any point in the regular season, that is not who they were against Tennessee. That is not who they were in any of those playoff games. Like, at the line of scrimmage, they didn't play that way consistently. It flashed a little bit, but it was consistent in the playoffs. So the only takeaway I really have there is you better have some vets, and you better have some leadership, and you better have some guys that somewhere in that tank have the ability to take over. And it might not be Will Anderson, or, it might not be Terrell Suggs, but they better have something in there that they can go get it and kick your ass with on a pretty regular basis.